All right, so today we are here with Amanda Carrol, who is a recent graduate of Exams PM, and successfully you've passed your PMP. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your experience and how you found it. And you know, we share a lot of these videos with our students so that they understand, you know, what's entailed in the exam and how the study went and you know, any useful tips and that kind of stuff. So I'll just ask you a few questions and we'll go from there.
All right.
All right. So Amanda, the first thing I'll ask you is like, what made you take the PMP?
Well, I'd actually been thinking about it for over a year.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, last year, and when I was doing my goals for the, you know, beginning of the year, that was, you know, I had it on there as a tentative goal, you know, because I was starting to feel a little bit stagnated, you know, in my career and felt like I needed to, you know, get something that would be beneficial to me for other directions, you know.
Yeah.
I knew, like, I kind of figured out from reading about the PMP that's like, wait a minute, I'm already doing projects. Like, you know, it didn't really occur to me till then. Like, all the stuff I've been doing for years, those are projects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna do this. But then I never got around to it that year. It got busy.
Yeah.
I didn't commit to it. You know, I kept reading up on it a little bit here and there, and but I had it in my head that I needed to take like a boot camp or something, you know, just from like what I'd read, you know. But I knew I wanted to eventually do it, but I never got around to it that first year. And then that, you know, the beginning of this year, I had already, by the end of the year, I'd already determined that was going to be a goal. You know, I wanted to take a next step in my career, and I'm definitely going to do this. So at that point, I was still looking for a boot camp.
Right. Very good. So if I might ask you, like, so it seems like you decided fairly quickly, like you were thinking about it for a long time, but when you decided, you got right down to it.
Yes.
Yeah. And did you end up taking our boot camp, or did you take the full 6-week course?
I took the 6-week course.
Okay. Very good. So what made you decide on the 6 weeks versus a boot camp sort of training?
So I had actually honed in on a in-person boot camp that was going to be, I didn't know about you guys yet at this point. I had not found you. So I had honed in on another company that was going to do one here in town.
Right.
And I was, you know, I had already told my family, okay, here's what I want for Christmas. You know, I want money to put towards this boot camp, you know, because it was expensive, really expensive. It was like going to be over $1,000 for the.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. And so you know, I had already picked the date and everything. And when I was, you know, looking at my calendar and thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do in the meantime? I need to be getting ready for this boot camp, I guess.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I was planning to take the boot camp. Actually, funny, it was actually last week. It was on my calendar for last week. And I was going to sign up for it like at the first of the year.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking online, trying to figure out, like, okay, I need to be studying some stuff before this boot camp.
Right.
I came across Helena's, one of her YouTube videos.
Okay.
And it was the one for the knowledge areas.
Okay.
And I watched that video, and I was so impressed with her teaching style.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just the way she, you know, laid out the information, and I felt really comfortable with it. Mm. And so from there, I signed up for the 1.5-hour free course that she does.
Yeah. The webinar.
And that led me into, you know, looking at the timeline and what my goal was, what I had determined my goal was, you know, for first quarter was to take a course, be ready to, take the exam in second quarter. So prepare in the first quarter.
Right.
Whatever. So yeah, that, like I said, at that point, I thought it was going to be some sort of in-person boot camp.
Yeah.
But then when I discovered Helena's course, I thought, well, you know what? I got all the first quarter. This is a 6-week program. That'll give me plenty of time to, get ready to take the exam. Yet, obviously still hadn't gotten my application by that point. So still had to do all of that. So the 6-week course, and because I was hesitant in looking at other courses online because I didn't feel comfortable with them. But after like seeing her YouTube video and doing the hour-and-a-half course, I felt really comfortable with that style.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I would be.
Right.
I thought I would benefit more from an in-person course.
Right.
But then I was like, no, I think I'll really like this. I like her teaching style. I really like, and so that's kind of what swayed me towards the 6-week course versus a boot camp style course,
Okay. No, that's really great. And so you got the 6 weeks course. So what was your experience doing the course? Like, I understand that you really liked Helena's teaching style, and I can agree. Like, I've done that course as well, and I find her teaching style very, very good, very comfortable. So, tell me about your experience doing the course, and any tips that you might give people when they're studying, the 6-week course.
So
yeah,
I started the course. Let's see, I purchased it on the 2nd, and immediately jumped in.
Yeah.
And I had read like the timeline that is laid out in the course.
Yeah, the study guide.
Yeah. And I found it such an easy flow for me. And that I sped it up a little bit, like that part of it. I tended to cram more into one day than or into a week than what was laid out. Because it was just depending on when I had time.
Right.
So I would cram more in, and then I would not have time because of work, and then I'd cram some more in. So I didn't follow it exactly the way it was laid out, but the way that the information is, it's a lot of it's kind of repetitive, it's different, but it's the same for the different, for the different areas. Right. And I found that to be, normally I would find that.
In
this case, it solidified the information in my brain. It really made it stick. So when I would get to a new module, I would know how it was going to go. And then it would just be like getting that particular one to stick in my head. I don't know, it just made it really easy to learn it.
Yeah. That's a good point. I did a little bit of training, a lot of training in my career. And one of the things that we're taught is that you have to have some repetition, because that's the way our mind works. We hear it once, it kind of goes in, and then we hear it twice, it goes in a little more. And so some of the key points that are repeated actually can be very helpful. So yeah, actually, thanks for pointing that out, because I know what you mean. It's like, didn't I hear this already?
Yep. But it's a good thing.
Yeah.
What is it they say? You got to hear it 7 times before it sticks.
Yeah, that's it. That's actually quite true. Now, I'm curious, did you take, we have, you can download the actual slides. Did you actually print those and take notes? Because I get that question a lot from people, like, how do I take notes, or should I take notes? Did you do any note taking?
So I did do note taking, but I didn't print all the slides. I did download all the slides, but I didn't print all the material. I printed key material, and I would take notes on I obviously on the
Yes.
So
that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one to take notes.
Yeah, so took a lot of notes there, and I have took a lot of notes in a notebook. So and then it was also key for me to, after I would finish a module, was to go back and take the exams, and take it until I really understood what I missed and why I missed it.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So then you took some exams and then you went back to those areas, I guess,
I
to,
would go back to those, any modules that I didn't do well in, I would go back and listen to it again
yeah.
and retake, you
Yeah.
know, the test. And then I would even like, even after I'd been through the whole, all the modules, I had notes from which ones I was weak in, you know,
Okay.
and I would then go back after, because you know, if you do it immediately, you're going to do better because you just took it. You know, you're
Right.
going to, you know, you're going to basically just remember what you missed and you're going to pick the right answer. But if you wait a week or two and then go back to the modules that you were weak in, then you really see if that stuck or not, if that information stuck or not.
Right.
And that was really key when I started doing the full length exams too. And the full length exams were, they were really helpful in, I think in helping me pass the exam, the PMI exam.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't realize, man, that 4 hours is a long time.
Intense. That's really intense. And I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
You really have to, you know, when you get stuck somewhere, don't hang out there for too long. Like go on to the next, next one, try to get as many done as you can.
Well, and it's amazing too, because like what I started doing too, what I realized is I would take notes on ones that I wasn't sure about.
Yeah.
Write down the number, you know, and what the question was about. Just a little blurb, you know, even a word, you know. And then as the test would go along, often you come to another question that helps you answer that question.
Right. Yeah, right. That's very good. Did you try that during the exam as well? Like when you were stuck?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that's really great. Is there any key other tips or anything you want to give to people who are, you know, either studying or preparing to write for the exam? Something that you found particularly helpful?
I did find it really helpful to literally write out the knowledge areas and the process groups every day. Every day, take a blank piece of paper and draw, because I used, that was really the only brain dump I did for the exam.
Yeah. Was
my brain dump, you know, and I, every single day I would, because it was hard. Like I remembered the knowledge areas and the process groups. I remembered those pretty quickly, you know. I was able to using a lot of her tips, you know, was able to kind of put it in a, you know, whatever, a sing song, a poem, or, you know, something, you know, to kind of help me remember them. But remembering the 49 areas, I really had to make sure every day I drew out that diagram, because what I found is, you know, I think I mentioned, you know, that last week I found out I was out of a job. So, well, it wasn't last week I found out. I actually found out they were going to be closing our office in Charlotte. I found out on February the 7th.
Okay.
And so it was at that point, because I wasn't even planning on sitting for the exam until second quarter. Like literally, I was like, I'm going to prepare for the exam and then I'm going to sit for it in second quarter. You know? And then when I found out our office was closing, it gave, you know, I had literally about a month, you know, to left, you know, for that position. So I thought, you know what, I need to get my act together here. I really need to go ahead and have this under my belt completely. You know, I need to go ahead and take the exam before then. No more dilly-dallying, you know, let's get it done.
Right.
So, you know, it was at that point that I really, you know, stepped up my studying, and I went, but I did because I managed a team there. So I was really concerned about them. So I took a couple of weeks to try to help them find new positions, you know, and got off course a little bit, even though I knew I needed to get this done.
Right.
And when I went back and started writing out writing out the knowledge areas in the process group template every day, I realized that, oh my goodness, I've forgotten some of the knowledge, some of the 49 areas. And, you know, it took me a couple of days to really get it solidified back in my brain, you know. So from that point on, I didn't miss a day. So I would say that is key. And for me, that was the biggest thing. I was really concerned about not knowing all the formulas.
Yes.
And at some point I just said, you know what, I know that is not one of my strong suits.
Right.
And based on, what I'd read about how many questions there may be, on the exam, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to focus on that as much. I made a conscious decision to focus on, making sure I knew the 49 groups and the sequence of them. That's the biggest thing, is understanding the sequence.
Yes.
Understanding what comes before what, but then also understanding too, which is, I think, maybe something that a lot of people get tripped up on, is that a lot of them are happening at the same. Most of them are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not that you finish one and then you go to the next one. Yeah. It's they overlap, right. And understanding that was key. But if you can do a dump with the process groups, the knowledge areas, the 49 processes, then you would be well on your way to doing well on the exam, if you have that down.
Fantastic. So a lot of people ask me, like, how long does this take? Like, how long does end-to-end, how long does it take to get your PMP? And, there's all kinds of information and misinformation all over the web about how long this takes. We believe very strongly that 6 weeks is enough end-to-end to do your PMP. How long did it take you?
So I signed up for the course on January the 2nd, and I passed my exam on March the 12th.
Right.
Now, part of that, I think for me, a lot of it took me a bit of time to finish my application.
Yes. Okay.
Because I had to have 7,500 hours.
Okay.
For my application. And that's another kind of a key thing, I think, because I was initially, I was logging all my projects for, years back. And then when I got word that our office was closing, I realized I really have to speed this up. So I figured out that, yes, I could break it down into all these different projects, but I could also make some of my projects longer projects. It just depends on your perspective and how you look at it, because it could be viewed as 10 separate little projects, or it could be viewed as one large project.
Sure.
So figuring that out really helped me, because that was where probably my biggest stumbling block was, just logging all of my time. Yes. To get the application in. So that hung me up a little bit. But so overall, it took me more than 6 weeks. But it's definitely doable in 6 weeks, especially if you already know your projects. Because I had to do a lot of remembering. I had to go back and look at files. I had to go back and make sure I had a contact person for particular things, for my application. But so that was a big part of it for me, why it took me a little bit longer. But 6 weeks, I think it's definitely doable for sure.
Yeah. No, that's great. And it's great to hear from people who actually did it. Like, from what I'm hearing, you could have done the 6 weeks with no problem. And really, it doesn't matter that much if it takes you 6 or 8 or a year. It's just, I want people to understand that if you do want to fast track it, it is possible. And you don't have to wait for years. You don't have to study for years to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and after my application was accepted, I then made a conscious decision too of when I would sit for the exam. So technically, my application, I signed up on January 2nd. My application was accepted at PMI on February the 12th.
Right.
So I could have sat for it right away.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. So that would have been within that timeline. But I made a decision to wait until March the 12th because of everything that was going on at work with my team and everything. Yeah. So I knew I was going to need to have some time to, take some more full length exams and, help them get squared away, help close down the office, those kinds of things. So yeah, it was a conscious decision on my part also to go beyond the 6 weeks. It's definitely doable. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy that you joined us today. Is there anything, any last thing that you'd like to share?
Um, I just think it's such a, being able to have all this information at your fingertips,
Yeah.
online. It's in today's world, when I was growing up, you didn't have access to any of this, and to be able to advance your learning and your career sitting in the comfort of your home, I hope people don't take it for granted, because it's a wonderful thing.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. I totally agree with you. Like, we live sort of in a miraculous time for this kind of learning. And, I think it's for me, sort of the smartest thing to do. Whether you're doing a live online or you're doing, like a pre-recorded sort of course like we have. I think it's really great. It's a great option. It gives people a lot of flexibility, especially if they're working long hours at work and stuff like that. And they don't really have the time to go to a classroom. I think it's really great.
Well, and then, you know what? Then there's no excuses.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no excuses. If you want to do it, if you want to do it bad enough, it's out there. You can do it.
Yeah. Super.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Amanda. Like, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Alan.
I hope to get this posted on YouTube real soon. I'm just going